Our next speaker is Dave Byrnes. As an entrepreneur, small business owner, and a professional speaker, Dave describes himself as an introverted networker. Did you know that in about 10 days' time, he will be delivering this presentation to an audience of over 100 professional speakers? Isn't that amazing? You got this, Dave, but no pressure. As a way to prepare, he is looking for feedback on what to cut from his speech, things that didn't work so well, but conversely, things that worked well, things he should keep. I mean, consider that this feedback that Dave gets from MVP, this feedback is part of his process in preparing. And consider that this feedback pays dividends in his professional speaking career. So as a member of MVP for about a year and a Toastmaster for 4 years, Dave will be presenting a speech entitled Sales for People Who Hate Selling. Sales for People Who Hate Selling, Dave Byrnes.
Thanks, Flo. It was less than 48 hours after I'd quit my grown-up job to start my own business that I uttered the words, "What have I done?" I remember the exact moment where I first uttered those words. I was sitting in a park, downtown Calgary, September, beautiful sunny day. Have you ever felt like the floor was falling out beneath you while you're surrounded by normal people going through their normal life? There were couples strolling through the park hand in hand. Children were playing, birds were tweeting, all those things. And I'm sitting there reading a book. And this author, one by one, was unmasking all the assumptions I had about owning my own business as frauds. And the really big one that really hit me was I was going to have to sell. As a card-carrying introvert all my life, even though I didn't really know that until a lot later in life, I couldn't sell. I didn't think I could sell. I couldn't network. And it had cost me all through my life. It had held back my career. It had affected how I did my job. And here I am reading a best-selling book on how to run a business, and I'm going to have to sell. And to me, I'd always had this crazy impression of what a salesperson was. You had to be pushy. You had to pressure people. You were like a used car salesman. And so I'm sitting there thinking, what am I going to do? Am I going to start slicking back my hair? Sell, sell, sell? It just wasn't going to work. And I knew this. And during my life, I tried to get over this. I didn't quite exactly know what being an introvert versus an extrovert was, but I tried all these different ways to cure myself of being shy, of being introverted. And it came up to a crux where a mentor convinced me to bet $3,000 that I could talk to 150 strangers in 30 days. And just the cherry on the top, the money went to an anti-charity. So this was a website that would take your money and send it to a charity that you didn't support. So I had the extra kicker that the NRA was going to get $3,000 from me if I didn't do this. So I made it. I came out the other side, only just. And the main thing that I came out of that was, yes, I have the skills to talk to strangers. Yes, I can do this. It's not so bad. I don't ever want to do it again. It's just not me. And really, the kicker, when I knew there was no way I was going to be able to do sales, was when I tried network marketing. And for an introverted guy that doesn't really like talking to strangers, that's what I think is going to happen when I go to hell. I'm just going to be walking around, talking to strangers, telling them about the opportunity. The opportunity. Now, around the same time, a study had come out. I wasn't aware of it. It would have really helped at the time. This study was a collection of a bunch of different ones, and basically what it had done is it had studied whether extroverts or introverts were better at sales. The stereotype had always been, definitely in my mind anyway, extroverts are naturals. They like to talk, they're personable, they like lots of stimulation. That was my assumption. But what this actually found is extroverts didn't earn any more money, didn't close more sales, didn't do any better. So was it the introverts? Was it the quiet people that were doing this? It wasn't them either. It was the people right in the middle. Some you might call ambiverts, but basically it was the people that could take those two skills, those two sets of strengths, and bring them into the middle. I would have liked to have known this, but there you go. So as I decided I'm not going to crawl back to my job, I'm going to stick with this business and I'm going to try and sell, I started to work out how I could be an introverted salesperson. How could I do this? How could I take those strengths? This study had talked about the strengths of introverts. It talked about the ability to listen, the ability to deeply focus, stay on one subject and go deep into it, and also to build deeper relationships was another one. So it might be less relationships, but far more powerful and deep relationships. So without really knowing it, just scrabbling my way in the dark, I was starting to be able to do this. And I wasn't able to just stay over there, however. I did have to stretch. I still had to go to networking events and talk to people, but I took the pressure off. Instead of having to talk to 10 people, I had to have one really good conversation. I could start a sales conversation online. I just wasn't allowed to stay there. I had to come back here. I had to speak to people. And I managed to develop something that worked, and I managed to eventually get where that study had talked about, find a way to do that. So what does it all mean? The good news, if you are quiet and you hate selling, is that we have just as good a shot as anybody else. The bad news is, I just blew all your excuses out of the water. So won't you join me in the middle? Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dave, for sharing with us how quality can often be better than quantity when